Welcome back into the Champion's Journey. I'm Cory McCartney. As we feature companies that are making innovations in sports through technology, we put our focus on Proteus, the smart resistance training system. CEO Sam Miller joins me and explains the efficiency and effectiveness of Proteus, its ability to offer a unique and personalized experience, and how they're looking to become ubiquitous in the world of increasing people's health, not just in sports. If you missed any of them, be sure to watch all of this week's Champion's Journey episodes. Now, here's Proteus's Sam Miller. I'm pleased to welcome in Sam Miller, CEO of Proteus. Sam, appreciate you carving out some time.
Happy to be here, Cory. Thanks so much.
Absolutely. Now, as we look at this intersection of sports and technology, there are few companies that meet that head on more than Proteus, which has revolutionized resistance training. There's so much of a focus in recent years with technology finding its way into everything in training. I mean, there's exercise bikes, rowers, et cetera. But what, in your estimation, had been missing from elite training and recovery equipment, and how has Proteus helped to fill that market void?
Sure. I mean, I think you're seeing it in this connected devices space that's been exploding in the last couple of years. And a lot of the concentration of that has been for at-home products. And now, at the same time, there's been incredible advancements with new sports tech in the kind of elite sports training realm. But there's a huge gap between those two spaces, and to me, everyone's kind of putting a sensor on an old piece of equipment, and no one's really looking at the equipment and trying to develop a new, better, more efficient, hardware tool or equipment for training. And that's where we started. What we're doing, we like to think of it as really a reinvention of strength training and recovery. And what this new type of equipment allows you to do is to measure human performance in a new way, which is strength in 3 dimensions for the first time ever.
Proteus's ability to measure, track, and assess an athlete, provide feedback, and tailor workouts has so many far-reaching applications, strength training and rehab. I watched a video with former MLB pitcher Chris Capuano. He lauds the machine's ability to be so fluid. How is Proteus able to take a user's movement patterns and turn it into something that's so very unique and personalized?
Sure. I mean, I think the beauty of the system is that it doesn't force users to move a certain way. So all of the kind of improvements of, as it relates to, movement patterns and optimized movement patterns, it really comes from the user themselves, right? By organically and naturally being able to, feel the resistance, feel the movement pattern, produce force from the ground up, and that then translates to these kind of rapid improvements across the board. On the measurement side, I mean, because our patented resistance is truly multiplanar, which is the first time ever that capability's ever existed, it allows us to measure in 3 dimensions. So we have invested a lot of time and energy in our software products to allow you to visualize what power production, for example, looks like in 3-dimensional space.
Let's talk about the inner workings a little bit. Electromagnetic brakes to produce resistance, the ability to replicate 25 machines in one, a full range of attachments. Those of us, I'm someone who's been a personal trainer for a long time, heavily involved in fitness for decades. They'll love that, concept of free weights, an array of machines. But especially when it comes to elite athletes, there's an efficiency in the work of training and rehabbing. Is that really part of the effectiveness in your eyes, is to take these elite athletes and give them something they can be very efficient with?
Absolutely. I mean, efficiency is one of our main selling points. I will say, though, the technology that we've developed, it's a totally new modality for resistance training. And we're introducing it to the market with some really exciting success, but it's not positioned as a total replacement, right? So we're not saying, hey, stop everything that you've been doing for decades and use Proteus. We're saying, use Proteus to accelerate what you're already doing. And you can do that through a couple different ways. So there's efficiency that comes through a couple different avenues. One is through the actual results that that you get physically. We've proven clinically through the Hospital for Special Surgery, the #1 orthopedic hospital in the United States, that Proteus produces up to 95% greater peak muscle activation and muscle activation duration compared to free weights and a cable machine. So there's this neuromuscular stimulation component to this that is tied directly to motor learning, coordination, proprioception, balance, and efficient movement. That's really, really powerful. And then separately, of course, the fact that resistance is in all planes and directions means you can actually do 2 exercises in the time of 1. So from a testing perspective, it's insanely efficient, which allows, one of our products is a strength and power report, which is a full body analysis or breakdown of where your power is coming from. And a user will go through 17 exercises in under 4.5 minutes.
Wow. How has COVID-19 changed the appetite for technology-driven training and what you've experienced? I mean, is it there an even greater importance when you consider the automated workouts that are a part of your system?
Without question. I mean, for us, we've seen really a net positive impact on not just our business, but interest in the technology. And I think it's because of a couple different reasons. One of them, I think the most obvious to us anyways, is as athletes are kind of becoming, they're greater barriers for athletes to complete their training. And some of them that are forced to do some of that at home, power is one of the first things that you lose in detraining. And you lose power before strength. And so what Proteus does, it allows you to actually monitor power and measure it in a completely new way in an insanely short period of time, but also train it in a really rapid fashion. So it's a phenomenal tool for maintaining and improving power output, which is essential when you have these kind of periods of time when you can't go to the gym. I think the second thing though is really from a business standpoint. We've seen that the sports performance gyms that we serve anyways have been doing quite well. I mean, there's obviously been struggles here, but it's a very different landscape than commercial big box fitness. And we think that's because athletes in particular, they really they have greater needs and desires for hands-on, in-person, specialized and highly skilled instruction. And so our technology being a tool that empowers trainers to deliver a better quality of service has fit in really nicely there.
Well, it's called elite training for a reason, right?
That's right.
Proteus had a kiosk at LakePoint Sports Baseball Village this summer to provide athletes with an assessment to get full body strength and power reports, detect for imbalances, compare them to athletes at different elite levels. While you currently have machines in the hands of MLB, NHL, and Division I sports teams, is that in your mind Proteus's next wave of getting to that generation that's so already tied into data and tech?
Absolutely, and we're already doing it. The pro institutions that we serve right now are a starting point for us. They have been phenomenal partners. We've been really lucky to have this incredible group of early adopter customers that are really invested in what we're doing. But our vision here is that this technology in its various forms is going to be ubiquitous in all locations where human health and performance is valued. And that goes way beyond sports. But we've expanded our footprint for our systems into markets that serve competitive athletes of all sport types and all age ranges with a lot of success. And as the software gets better, which it does rapidly and over time, some of these products are really focused on self-service capabilities. So you can actually walk up without any staff member present and actually receive in a matter of minutes one of these strength and power reports, just as one example.
You kind of touched on it there a little bit, but certainly from a data collection standpoint, and as you guys look to allow the athletes to compare and stack themselves up against at different ages and different levels of athleticism, I mean, certainly having that expanded reach just certainly allows you guys to have a much broader software operation and probably offering in terms of allowing these guys to find out how they do stack up.
Absolutely. There's tremendous network effects here. And the more data we capture, the more valuable the product is. And then that cycle continues. We've deliberately placed our systems or engaged with clients that allow us to access environments where we're actually able to build that data set more and more. It's growing rapidly with only a couple dozen of our version 1 machines out there in the world. We are our top performing sites are performing almost 700 monthly sessions on Proteus
Hmm.
per site. They're getting incredibly high usage, and we're capturing a ton of data. And the entire purpose of it is, of course, the athlete owns the data. We just use that de-identified information so that we can provide more value on the software side.
Such an interesting journey for Proteus. I mean, your father's prototype built to help you during your own sports rehabbing as a child. What was it about that experience of trying to find a rehab solution and bridge the gap between rehab training and actually on the field movements that led you down this path?
Sure. Yeah, it's interesting story, but I had a long history of injuries starting in my knees when I was 9 years old. I spent years in between rehab and peak performance and back again, and I was just really, really frustrated with the lack of access to objective performance data. One, right, and inefficient fitness equipment and training tools that I viewed as haven't they hadn't changed in decades. And so I envisioned a technology that was able to solve both of those problems. But in order to do so, you have to start with the hardware. We got to create a new and better tool that's really going to be focused on not isolating specific muscles and joints, but focused on rapidly strengthening, enhancing, restoring movement patterns.
How much of what we're seeing today with Proteus actually mirrors the prototype that your dad built?
Probably about 3 to 5%. We, the impetus or the genesis for Proteus in and of itself. I mean, it really came from it was inspired by a lot of the work that my father was doing at MIT in the early 90s, and then continued to be tinkering in the basement of my house growing up. So without question, a lot of the inspiration comes from the mechanical side of things, comes from his work, which was truly brilliant. What we've done today, though, is kind of stratospheres beyond what he had envisioned and what he was working on, but it wouldn't have been possible without the work that he was doing. But we've got an incredible team that is kind of spread out across the country, but primarily located in the New York City area. And this team has just provided some unbelievable value that we think is tying into a revolutionary product that's going to transform and is already starting to transform these spaces.
I know with the help of late NBA Commissioner David Stern, you were able to add fundraising for and help in research and development of version 2 of the system. Where does the company stand in terms of that work?
There's only so much I can share, but at this particular moment. But version 2 has all the same functionality as version 1. It's just really mass manufacturable, and is a lot more stable, durable, and commercially ready and available. We have some incredibly exciting development going on. We are probably about a couple of months away from being able to share what that actually looks like, and a little bit about the product, and do a full announcement. But we are targeting for an early spring 2021 launch of that product.
Well, without giving anything else away, I mean, where do you see this going? Do you see this as something where it becomes as ubiquitous as people having it in their homes? Do you see it as something where schools all over the country are making this part of their their development of their own athletes? How far do you see this going?
Without question, this technology in its current and future forms, it will be ubiquitous. It will be as I said earlier, it will exist in all facility types where human health and performance is valued. That includes the home. It includes doctors' offices. It includes rehab facilities and medical institutions. And of course, it includes commercial fitness. So it's really all the above. Of course, the road to getting there does not mean pursuing all those markets at once. They behave very differently. There's very different dynamics, and there's different product needs. So we are heavily focused and invested right now in sports performance and sports medicine.
All right, well, for more on Proteus, you can visit proteusmotion.com or follow them on Instagram and Twitter at Proteus Motion. Sam, thank you so much for the time.
Thank you, Cory. Appreciate it.